Hello, in the last class we were studying about the human respiratory system. So let us revise a bit. What is human respiratory system or what is respiratory system? The respiratory system is responsible for absorption of oxygen and giving out carbon dioxide. So it is responsible for absorbing oxygen and giving out carbon dioxide. Now there are various parts of a respiratory system. There are various parts. I'm just revising it. Okay, the first part is known as the nostril. Do you remember nostril? Nostrils are the holes in the nose. So air enters our body through the nostrils. Our body through nostrils. किन nostrils किन दुईटा छ नि त ओके सो एउटा मात्रै भए चाहिँ nostril हुन्थ्यो सो दुईटा छ through nostrils. So this is the first part. Then second part of the respiratory system is known as nasal cavity. Okay, so air from the nostril will enter into the nasal cavity. In the nasal cavity, the air gets filtered. Okay, air gets filtered and warmed. Filter पनि हुन्छ if there is any dust particle or any harmful particles that will be trapped by the hair and the mucus present in the nasal cavity, plus the air will also be warmed. भित्र तातो हुन्छ so अलिकति warm पनि हुन्छ. Okay, then third part of the respiratory system is the pharynx. Okay, so air from the nasal cavity, it moves into the pharynx. In the last class I told you that it is a common passage for food as well as air. खाना पनि खाँदा first मा pharynx मै जान्छ and air also goes into the pharynx. It is at the back of the throat. It is at the throat भनेको यहाँ हो, so यसको back मा हुन्छ. It is at the back of the throat. Okay, back of the throat. Then from the pharynx, the air enters to the next part of the respiratory system, that is the trachea. Trachea is also known as windpipe. Okay, so windpipe is a passage. It's a bato, passage for air to move into the lungs. So lungs ma jane euta bato ho. Okay, then trachea, it branches. मैले भनेको थिएँ नि trachea, this is trachea, then it branches like this. Okay, so दुईटा हाँगा पलाउँछ trachea को, that is known as bronchi. एउटा मात्रै चाहिँ bronchus, दुईटा चाहिँ bronchi, so that is bronchi. So bronchi will lead to lungs. Okay, this, it is also a passage, or let us write down, it is a branch of trachea. Okay, these are branches of trachea. Branches of trachea which leads to lungs. Okay, त्यहाँबाट lungs मा जान्छ. It opens into the lungs. Okay, then finally comes the lungs. These are the main respiratory organs. These are bag like structures, and lungs the झोला जस्तो त हुन्छ. So these are bag like structure, bag like structure, and this is the main respiratory organs. They absorb oxygen. These are actually, they absorb oxygen and expel out carbon dioxide. Okay, so these are the parts of a respiratory system. Okay, so your parts are बुझ्नुभयो, nostril, nasal cavity, then comes pharynx, then trachea or windpipe, then bronchi, and then the lungs. So yesto parale there are 6 parts of respiratory system. Now air moves into these parts one by one, and then finally air is taken to the lungs. Okay, lungs ma jancha. Now yesterday I told you that there are 2 lungs in human. Euta manchema duita lungs huncha, the right and the left lung, and the left lung is slightly smaller than the right lung. Do you remember why is it slightly smaller than the right lung? Because the chest cavity, the space in the chest cavity occupied by the left lung is also occupied by the heart. So heart pani त्यही हुन्छ, left side mai हुन्छ. So to accommodate the heart, the left lung is slightly smaller in size. Okay, so that was the respiratory system. So today we'll understand how breathing takes place, what are the respiratory parts that help us in breathing. Okay, so mechanism of breathing parnu bhanda agadi I have brought a picture of the human respiratory system. I will put it up here. Okay, so this is the picture of human respiratory system. अब तपाईले देख्नु हुँदैछ, here is the nose, यहाँबाट सुरु हुन्छ, nose को holes लाई nostrils भन्छ. Air enters the body through these nostrils and air enters into the second part of that respiratory system, that is the nasal cavity. Then from the nasal cavity the air moves into the pharynx. यहाँनिर अर्को एउटा पार्ट पनि देखाएको छ, larynx. Larynx is nothing but the voice box, हाम्रो स्वर निस्किने tongue. Okay, अन्त त्यहाँदेखि from the larynx there is a pipe that is known as the trachea or the windpipe. Now you can see trachea is branched into two branches. Bronchi लेखेको छ नि है. So एउटा मात्रै छ भने चाहिँ bronchus, B R O N C H U S. Okay, bronchus. यहाँ चाहिँ दुईटा छ, so bronchi. Okay, then you can see there is something called as bronchioles पनि देख्नु हुँदैछ है. Bronchioles के हो भन्दा चाहिँ you can see that this bronchi is further branched, अझै मसिनो branch मा भएको छ. So those smaller branches of bronchi are known as bronchioles. And finally last ma yo jun chai masino sacs jasto cha, that is the alveoli. Now human respiratory system ma there is one important part, that is the diaphragm. Okay, it is located here below the lungs. Lungs ko muni pati huncha yo diaphragm. Originally when inhalation has not taken place, originally त्यो चाहिँ यस्तो dome shape मा भएर चाहिँ बसेको हुन्छ. Okay, so I will try to. What is diaphragm? Diaphragm is also present. Okay, diaphragm is it is a muscular sheet. Okay, muscular sheet भनेको चाहिँ paper जस्तो. Okay, muscular sheet that is present below the lungs. Okay, diaphragm को बारेमा किन भनेको भन्दा चाहिँ because diaphragm plays an important role in breathing. Okay, it is at the floor of the chest cavity. Chest cavity भनेको चाहिँ हाम्रो यहाँनिर घाँटीदेखि मुनिपट्टि यहाँ जुन चाहिँ खाली जग्गा छ, that is the chest cavity. Inside that chest cavity will find different organs like the heart, the lungs, the kidneys. Okay, त्यो सबै चाहिँ कहाँ लोकेटेड छ, लिभरहरु सबै यो chest cavity मा लोकेट भएको छ. So just at the floor of the chest cavity you will find a muscular sheet. Okay, sheet भनेको यस्तो paper जस्तो. Okay, muscular sheet, and that is known as the diaphragm. Now this plays an important role during breathing. So let us understand what happens during breathing. So mechanism of breathing. Now breathing भनेको त last class मा हामीले पढेको छ, inhalation र exhalation हुन्छ. Inhalation means taking in air that is rich in oxygen, and when we exhale we give out air that is rich in carbon dioxide. So let us see what happens during inhalation. नाउ यहाँनिर तपाईको यो ह्युमन रेस्पिरेटरी सिस्टममा since मैले भने नि chest cavity मा there are very important organs of the body that is found inside the chest cavity. So to protect this very important organs there is a bones हुन्छ यो portion मा that is known as the rib cage है याद भयो rib cage हुन्छ. सो यहाँनिर डल्लै हाम्रो बछाडी देखिनको अगाडिसम्म नै हड्डीले कभर गरेको हुन्छ. ओके नाउ breathing ma rib cage and diaphragm, these two parts are involved. Okay, so during inhalation what happens, lungs expands. Okay, during inhalation means when we take in air. Okay, hawa bhitra linda chai lungs expand bhaneko बढ्नु. Okay, अब lungs बढ्यो पछि अब lungs लाई ठुलो जग्गा चाहियो कि चाहिएन. So lungs expand, so they need more space. So what will happen, space create गर्नुको लागि के गर्छ भन्दाखेरि चाहिँ ribs will move up and outwards. Okay, it will move up and outwards. अनि त्यहाँदेखिको चाहिँ diaphragm will move down. Okay, diaphragm मुनि झर्यो, ribs will move up and outwards, and there will be a space that is created inside the chest cavity. That means the space inside the chest cavity will increase and then air rushes into the lungs. Okay, so during inhalation lungs expand to accommodate these expanded lungs. के गर्छ, ribs move up and outwards and diaphragm moves down. अब diaphragm मुनि झरेपछि सिधा हुन्छ. सो सिधा भएपछि त यहाँ जग्गा बेसी भयो, यो ribs माथि आएपछि त्यहाँ पनि जग्गा भयो. Diaphragm moves down. Okay, and diaphragm moves down. This creates space inside the chest cavity. This creates space inside the chest cavity and air rushes into the lungs So यसरी चाहिँ हावा चाहिँ it will move to the lungs. That is during inhalation. Okay, now during exhalation यसको just opposite हुन्छ. अब अघि जुन चाहिँ रिब्सहरु बाहिर निस्केको थियो त्यो it will go back to its original position. The diaphragm will also go back to its original position. So the chest cavity will decrease and then the air will be pushed out of the lungs. Okay, so during exhalation ribs move down and inwards. Okay, ribs move down and inwards and diaphragm moves up. Okay, first ma jasto थियो त्यसरी नै माथि जान्छ, moves up. So what will happen, this decreases the space inside the chest cavity, and air is pushed out of the lungs. Okay, air is pushed out of the lungs. Okay, so when we take in oxygen, the chest cavity increases in size and air will rush into the lungs. When we exhale, that chest cavity will decrease in size and then air will be pushed. किनभने अब यो अघिको रिब्स माथि उठेको थियो, डायफ्राम तल गएको थियो, अब यो पनि यहाँ आउँछ ओरिजिनल पोजिसनमा, डायफ्राम पनि माथि आउँछ. सो ठेल्यो नि त, ठेलेपछि चाहिँ air will be pushed out of the lungs. Okay, so in this way inhalation and exhalation takes place. अब inhalation मा के भित्र जान्छ, oxygen. Where does that oxygen come from? From the air. Okay, now exhalation मा कुन चाहिँ ग्यास बाहिर निक्लिन्छ, carbon dioxide. Where does that carbon dioxide come from? From inside our body. Cells मा अस्ति हामीले पढेको छ, during respiration the glucose breaks down with the help of oxygen. Your oxygen लगेर glucose will break down and it will release carbon dioxide, water and energy. So त्यो carbon dioxide जुन चाहिँ release भएको छ, निस्केको छ during respiration, that cannot remain inside the body because it is a waste and so it has to be thrown out of the body, so that is done by the lungs. Okay, so yesto parale chai carbon dioxide chai expel huncha. So I have made a small model of lungs. I don't know whether it's visible or not, but I have tried to make a model of lungs. Simple, very simple. So think यो जुन चाहिँ white color को यो straw छ, this is your trachea. यो चाहिँ ट्र्याकिया रे. अब ट्र्याकिया तपाईले यहाँ मुनि देख्नु हुँदैछ कि देख्नु हुँदैछ न, यो ट्र्याकिया चाहिँ ब्रान्च भएको छ and that is the bronchi. न ब्रोन्काई हो त्यो. अन्त मुनिपट्टि orange color को जुन चाहिँ balloon छ, that is the lungs. Okay, and this blue color is the diaphragm. Okay, so observe carefully what happens when I pull this diaphragm down. So you can see that the lungs has expanded. That means air is rushing into the lungs. When I leave this, the air is moving out of the lungs. So when diaphragm moves down, chest cavity increases, air will be rushed into the lungs. When diaphragm moves back to its original position, then the air will be pushed out of the lungs. This is how our lungs works. Okay, I hope you understood this. Now I'll tell you one very interesting fact. Now humans can live, humans ma tapaharko duita lungs cha bhanera padeko cha हामीले, right and left lung. But sometimes when there is severe lung infection या त lung मा केही problem भएको छ भने the doctors they can even remove one lung from the person's body and a person can live even with only one lung. एउटा मात्रै lung मा पनि मान्छे बाँच्नु सक्छ. तर यो चाहिँ severe cases मा एकदमै remove गर्नै पर्ने जग्गामा मात्रै remove गरिन्छ अनि एउटा मात्रै lungs मा पनि मान्छे बाँच्छ. Okay, so this is all about how respiration takes place in human beings. Now let us talk about other organisms. Now as you know, there are other living organisms on earth also. So let us study how respiration takes place in those organisms. Okay, now first mata, there are plenty of animals that live on land. Land ma basne kunai animals harko naam sochnuस् ta. What are the animals that live on land? Elephants, cows, goats, buffaloes, deer, tiger, lion, snake, frogs, birds. All these also have lungs. Ami manche jastai, these organisms they have lungs and they breathe in a similar manner to us. हामी जस्तै हामीमा जसरी लङ्सले ब्रिदिङ गर्छ त्यस्तै यो एनिमल्समा पनि टाइगर, लायन, एलिफेन्ट, काउ, गोटहरुमा यसरी नै के हुन्छ रेस्पिरेसन हुन्छ. ओके, ब्रिदिङ हुन्छ. ब्रिदिङ इन अदर एनिमल्स. So animals like elephants, lions, tigers, frogs. Okay, then you have snakes, cows, goats, buffaloes, dog, cat, everything. Okay, etc. Even birds. Let us write down birds also. Birds, etc. They have lungs. हामी जस्तै उनीहरुमा पनि lungs हुन्छ and breathe in a similar manner like us भनेको हामी जस्तै breathing जस्तो हाम्रोमा हुन्छ तिनी यो animals मा पनि त्यस्तै हुन्छ. ओके, यो चाहिँ भयो the animal that live on land. जमिनमा बस्ने animals. I think class 6 मा तपाईले पढ्नु भएको छ. The animals that live on land are known as terrestrial animals. Okay, so terrestrial animals, they have lungs just like us. किनभने हामी त land मा बस्छ, so we also have lungs. These animals also have lungs and they breathe in through their lungs. Now what about the animals that live in water? पानीमा बस्ने चाहिँ जस्तो fish, they live in water नि त है. These are aquatic organisms. Animals that live in water are called aquatic organisms. So how do they breathe? Now fishes, they have gills. So fish have gills. हाम्रोमा lungs हुन्छ, त्यस्तै गरी fish कोमा चाहिँ gills हुन्छ which absorb dissolved oxygen from water. Okay? हाम्रोमा चाहिँ हामीले हाउ डु वी टेक इन अक्सिजन थ्रु द लङ्स ओके सो फिशेसमा चाहिँ दे टेक इन अक्सिजन थ्रु द गिल्स अर्को डिफरेन्स के छ वी टेक इन अक्सिजन फ्रम द एयर okay but fishes they take in oxygen from that is dissolved in water fishes they live in water so pani bhitra pani oxygen dissolved bhako huncha so fishes they breathe that oxygen which is dissolved in water okay now there are certain other animals that live in water also so whales dolphins right they look like fish only they swim in water dekhnu bhako cha ni haina so they though they live in water they do not have gills like fishes fish जस्तो whales dolphin मा चाहिँ gills हुँदैन है यिनीहरुकोमा चाहिँ lungs हुन्छ हाम्रोमा जस्तो lungs हुन्छ fish dolphins and whales they have lungs okay and they breathe in through the lungs त्यही कारणले तपाईले देख्नु भएको होला dolphins they come to the surface of the water they swim to the surface of water and they breathe so जति बेला breathe गर्नु छ they will come to the surface of water यसरी water surface बाट टाउको निकाल्छ and then they will breathe in through their lungs okay so animals like whales and dolphins that live in water breathe through lungs okay they swim to the surface of water swim to the surface भनेको माथि पानीको माथिल्लो भागमा आउँछ अनि त्यहाँदेखि water and take in oxygen from air okay take in oxygen from air okay now let us talk about insects okay let us talk about insects now insects like cockroaches they breathe in through small holes or they have small openings on the sides of their body that is known as spiracles okay so insects many insects such as cockroach कसरी breathe गर्छ यिनीहरुमा चाहिँ भन्दा चाहिँ they have small openings on the sides of their body को side मा हुन्छ sides of their body known as spiracles त्यो openings लाई के भन्छ spiracles जसरी हाम्रोमा nostrils हुन्छ यिनीहरुमा चाहिँ spiracles हुन्छ okay spiracles these are connected with they are connected to a network of tubes okay pipe जस्तो structures हुन्छ they are connected to a network of tubes called tracheae so यो tracheae बाट चाहिँ के हुन्छ भन्दाखेरि चाहिँ oxygen is taken to different tissues and त्यहाँ पनि tissues मा पनि cockroach मा पनि हामी जस्तै respiration हुन्छ carbon dioxide is released that carbon dioxide is brought back from the tissues to the tracheae then it is taken to the spiracle but it is given out of the body okay so these tracheae reach the tissues okay reach the tissues now have you ever killed a cockroach मार्नु भएको छ कहिले cockroach if you have hit a cockroach हिर्काउनु भएको छ भने तिनीहरुको बडी बाट एउटा फ्लुइड निक्लिन्छ नि have you seen that fluid what is the color of that fluid it is white in color so what is the function of that white fluid that is present inside the cockroach the white color को fluid हुन्छ त्यो fluid को काम के होला cockroach मा जसरी हाम्रो बडी मा ब्लड हुन्छ you know we have blood inside our body okay so जसरी हाम्रो बडी मा ब्लड हुन्छ ब्लड को जे काम गर्छ हाम्रो बडी मा त्यो व्हाइट फ्लुइड ककरोच मा व्हाइट फ्लुइड ले पनि त्यही काम गर्छ अब do you know what function is done by the blood that is present in our body blood को काम के छ भन्नुस् त blood it transports material inside the body ट्रान्सपोर्ट भनेको बोक्नु, एक जग्गादेखि अर्को जग्गा सामानलाई पुर्याउने काम गर्छ भन्नुको मतलब चाहिँ ब्लड चाहिँ हाम्रो बडीको कुल्ली जस्तै हो, ओके, लेबर जस्तै हो, त्यसले के गर्छ बोकेर लान्छ। लेबर चाहिँ नलेख्नु, त्यसै तपाईलाई बुझाउनको लागि भनेको मात्रै हो कि। सो ब्लड इट ट्रान्सपोर्ट्स सब्सटेन्सेस फ्रम वान पार्ट अफ द बडी टु अनदर पार्ट। जस्तो यसले के ट्रान्सपोर्ट गर्छ भन्दा अक्सिजन, कार्बन डाइअक्साइड, न्युट्रिएन्ट्स, वेस्ट मटेरियल्स, देयर आर सो मेनी थिङ्स द्याट आर taken by blood from one place of the body to another. So similarly cockroach मा पनि लानु पर्यो नि त, न्युट्रिएन्ट्स लानु पर्यो, अक्सिजन लानु पर्यो, सो कसले लान्छ that white fluid that is present inside the body of the cockroach. Okay, now what is the color of our blood? It is red in color, तर cockroach को भित्रको फ्लुइड चाहिँ कस्तो कलरको छ, white कलरको छ। अब किन हाम्रो ब्लड चाहिँ रेड, उनीहरुको चाहिँ किन व्हाइट भन्दाखेरि because inside our blood there is a pigment that is called hemoglobin. जसरी हाम प्लान्ट्समा क्लोरोफिल हुन्छ, क्लोरोफिलले ग्रीन कलर दिन्छ प्लान्ट्सलाई, त्यस्तै गरी हाम्रो ब्लडमा जुन चाहिँ हेमोग्लोबिन हुन्छ, हेमोग्लोबिन गिव्स रेड कलर टु आवर ब्लड, द्याट इज वाइ आवर ब्लड लुक्स रेड। बट cockroaches do not have hemoglobin, that is why their fluid is white in color. Okay, so cockroaches have white fluid. Cockroaches have white fluid due to the absence of hemoglobin. Okay, absence of hemoglobin. This fluid, what does it do? This fluid transports materials inside the body of cockroach. Transports materials inside the body of cockroaches. Okay. So we'll study more about blood. है अलिकति इन्ट्रेस्टिङ कुरा आयो नि त, ब्लड रातो किन हुँदो रहेछ, ब्लडले के काम गर्दो रहेछ. So all this will be studied or this will be covered in your next chapter. So त्यति बेला अझै मजाले we'll study about blood. Okay. Now one interesting fact about cockroach: cockroaches can hold their breath up to 40 minutes. ककरोचले सास नफेरिकन 40 मिनेटसम्म, आधी घण्टा भन्दा पनि बेसी 40 मिनेटसम्म उनीहरू बाँच्नु सक्छ. Just to hold their breath, what they do is they close their spiracles. Spiracles बाट oxygen भित्र पस्छ. So they close their spiracles and they can even survive without breathing for 40 minutes also. मान्छे सक्छ? तपाई सास रोकेर बस्नु सक्छ? सक्दैन. Maximum 30 seconds देखि 2 minutes सम्म मात्रै, त्यहाँ भन्दा बेसी कुनै पनि मान्छेले ब्रिदिङलाई रोक्नु सक्दैन. ओके, सो यस्तो पाराले ककरोचहरु चाहिँ यस्तो खालको अर्गानिजम्स हो जसले आफ्नो ब्रेथलाई 40 मिनेट्स सम्म पनि रोक्नु सक्छ. ओके, नाउ लेट अस टक अबाउट अनदर अर्गानिजम, दैट इज अर्थवर्म. अर्थवर्म चिन्नुहुन्छ होला? Where do they live? अस्ति हामीले एउटा च्याप्टर पढ्दाखेरि हामीले पढेको थियौ नि, अर्थवर्म्सहरु कहाँ बस्छ भनेर. अर्थवर्म्स live in soil. They live in soil. And how do they breathe? They have slimy and moist skin surface. Okay, skin surface which help in exchange of gases. So earthwormहरुले चाहिँ कहाँबाट ब्रिदिङ गर्दो रहेछ भन्दा चाहिँ स्किनबाट ब्रिदिङ गर्छ. यस्तो स्किनबाट ब्रिदिङ गर्छ. उनीहरुको स्किन छाम्दाखेरि चिप्लो हुन्छ, स्लाइमी भनेको चिप्लो खालको हुन्छ, अनि त्यहाँबाट चाहिँ दे ब्रिदिङ. ओके, तिनीहरुले अक्सिजन पनि त्यहीबाट लिन्छ, कार्बन डाइअक्साइड पनि त्यहीबाट फाट्छ. एक्सचेन्ज अफ ग्यासेस भनेको टेकिङ इन अफ अक्सिजन एन्ड गिभिङ आउट कार्बन डाइअक्साइड. ओके, सो दैट इज हाउ अर्थवर्म्स ब्रीथ. नाउ देयर इज अल्सो वान अदर अर्गानिजम दैट ब्रीथ्स थ्रू द स्किन. अर्को एउटा अर्गानिजम छ, त्यो चाहिँ हो फ्रग्स. अघि तपाईले इफ यु रिमेम्बर मैले भनेको थिएँ द एनिमल्स दैट लिभ अन ल्यान्ड दे ब्रीथ इन थ्रू द लङ्स. त्यहाँनिर मैले फ्रग्सको पनि इक्जाम्पल दिएको थिएँ, फ्रग्स लङ्सबाट ब्रीथ गर्छ भनेर. अब यहाँ फेरि मैले भन्दैछु फ्रग स्किनबाट ब्रीथ गर्छ भनेर. सो कुन चाहिँ करेक्ट हो भन्दा चाहिँ दुईटै करेक्ट हो. Frogs, they breathe in both through their skin and through their lungs. So when they live in water, they breathe in through their skin. When they live on land, they breathe in through their lungs. So frogs can live in both land as well as water. So जो organism land मा पनि बस्न सक्छ, जो organism पानी मा पनि बस्न सक्छ, त्यस्तो organism लाई चाहिँ हामी भन्छौं amphibians. Okay, so frogs are amphibians. So frogs can breathe through, तिनीहरुको पनि skin moist हुन्छ, through their moist skin and lungs. दुईटैबाट breathe गर्न सक्छ. Okay, when they are in land, they breathe in through lungs. They breathe in through lungs, and when they are in water, they breathe in through skin. They breathe in through their skin. Okay, so यस्तो पाराले they can live both in water as well as land. So they can live in both land and water. दुईटैमा बाँच्न सक्छ. हामी चाहिँ पानीमा बाँच्न सक्दैन. हामी चाहिँ एकछिन स्विमिङ चाहिँ गर्न सक्छ. त्यो पनि सिकेको छ भने है, नत्र भने चाहिँ पानीमा जहिले तैले बस्नु चाहिँ सक्दैन. हामी चाहिँ जमिनमै बस्ने मान्छे हो. सो organisms हो. So we are terrestrial animals. तर यिनीहरु चाहिँ they can live in water also, they can live on land also. Okay, so they are called amphibians. त्यस्तो organism जो चाहिँ पानीमा पनि बस्नु सक्छ, ल्यान्डमा पनि बस्नु सक्छ, त्यसकोलाई चाहिँ के भन्दे रहेछ? amphibian. Other examples of other amphibians चाहिँ के हो भन्दाखेरि toads पनि frog जस्तै हुन्छ, तर माथि तिनीहरुको स्किन चाहिँ तपाईले अब्जर्भ गर्यो भने दाना जस्तो हुन्छ. ओके, दाना परेको स्किन हुन्छ. अनि यिनीहरुको कलर चाहिँ अर्थको जस्तो ब्राउन कलरको, डार्क कलरको हुन्छ. त्यो चाहिँ टोड हो, त्यो फ्रग हैन. फ्रग चाहिँ फेरि स्किन चिल्लो भएको अरु कलरकोलाई चाहिँ फ्रग भनिन्छ. ओके, ग्रीनहरु कलरको इभन आई थिंक यु सीन. सो ग्रीन कलरको त्यस्तोहरु चाहिँ फ्रग हो. ओके, अनदर एक्जाम्पल अफ एम्फिबियन इज salamander. There is an organism called salamander, छेपारा टाइपको हुन्छ. So that can also live in both land and water. Okay, so this is how some organisms breathe in through their skin. Okay, now let us talk about plants. About Earth ma there are two kinds of organisms. तपाईलाई थाहा छ होला, एउटा plant, एउटा animals. So we have talked about plenty of animals. Animals को विषयमा त हामीले थुप्रोको विषयमा पढ्यो, कसरी चाहिँ breathing हुन्छ. अब let us study about plants. Now, do you think plants also need to breathe? Plants are पनि breathing गर्नु पर्छ होला? Yes, plants are also living organisms. They also need to breathe. So during breathing, just like us, just like other organisms, plants also take in oxygen and give out carbon dioxide. Okay, but one very interesting fact about plant is that plant can breathe in through two parts. दुईटा पार्टबाट ब्रीथ गर्न सक्छ. हामी त एउटै बडी पार्टबाट मात्रै ब्रीथ गर्छ नि, जस्तो we breathe in through their nose, through our nose. So तर plants को चाहिँ they can breathe in through two parts, that is the leaves and the roots. Okay, so the leaves and the roots, they can take in oxygen independently and then breathing takes place. Okay, so roots र leaves दुईटैले oxygen पनि भित्र लिनु सक्छ अनि त्यहाँदेखि carbon dioxide पनि बाहिर दिनु सक्छ. So let us study about the breathing in plants. Okay, leaves and roots in plants can take up oxygen and give out carbon dioxide independently. भनेको एकाअर्कामा डिपेन्ड नगरिकन आफआफू लिनु सक्छ. ओके, सो leaves बाट चाहिँ कहाँबाट जान्छ भन्दाखेरि you know that leaves have tiny pores. है, leaves have tiny pores on their surface, called stomata. So through this stomata हामीले कहाँ पढेको फर्स्ट च्याप्टरमा है. सो स्टोमाटा हुन्छ लिव्समा, and through this stomata exchange of gases takes place. Okay, which helps in exchange of gases means taking in oxygen, giving out carbon dioxide. Okay, now roots बाट चाहिँ कसरी लिन्छ भन्दाखेरि one thing, leaves take in oxygen from the air, okay, which helps in exchange of gases. र stomata ले oxygen कहाँबाट लिन्छ, air बाट लिन्छ. Now let us talk about roots. Roots absorb oxygen from the soil. Soil बाट लिन्छ यिनीहरूले चाहिँ. You know that soil have spaces between them. अस्तिको च्याप्टरमा हामीले पढेको छ soil particles को बीचमा spaces हुन्छ. Inside that spaces air and water both can be filled. So त्यो हावाले चाहिँ breathing, roots लाई breathing मा help गर्छ. Okay, roots absorb water from the soil, oxygen from the soil through the root hairs. What are root hairs भन्दाखेरि root यो भयो भने suppose this is the root है, root यो हो भने root मसिनो root branches भएर मसिनो hair like structures हुन्छ, that is known as the root hairs. Okay, so these root hairs help in absorbing oxygen that is in the soil. Okay, soil को particles भित्र चाहिँ के छ भने soil को particles भित्र air छ भने that is taken up by this root hairs. Okay, now what will happen if we give excess water to the plant? के हुन्छ होला, excess पानी दियो भने plant लाई, the plant will die. Excess water is not good for the plants. पानी त हाल्नु पर्छ plant लाई, water is important, but we should not give excess water to the plant because the plant will die. किन होला, किन मर्छ होला plant भन्नुस् त? Because the spaces in the soil will be now entirely filled with water. अब पानी बेसी हाल्यो भने त त्यो जुन चाहिँ ग्याप छ सोइल को बीचमा त्यस भित्र त खाली पानी मात्रै भरिन्छ नि त, हावा भरिने ठाउँ छैन. अन्त हावा भरिने ठाउँ छैन भने त roots will not be able to breathe and then the plant will die. Okay, so we should not over water a plant. Okay, now तपाईहरुलाई याद छ होला, plants are the only organisms that give oxygen. थाहा छ नि है, प्लान्ट्सहरु मात्रै यस्तो अर्गानिजम हो अर्थमा जसले अक्सिजन बनाउन सक्छ. कहिले बनाउँछ प्लान्ट्सले अक्सिजन? During photosynthesis. We've already studied about photosynthesis in the first chapter. त्यति बेला we studied that plants take in carbon dioxide from air, they take in water and minerals from the soil, they capture the solar energy with the help of chlorophyll, and then they make food and oxygen is also released. So plants मात्रै यस्तो organism हो अर्थमा जसले oxygen release गर्छ. So atmosphere मा जति पनि oxygen छ that is because of plants. Okay, because of photosynthesis of plants. र के रे atmosphere मा जति पनि oxygen छ, maximum oxygen is produced by plants that live in the oceans. Okay, ओशन को भित्र समुद्र, ठुल्ठुलो समुद्रको भित्रपट्टि मसिनो माइक्रोस्कोपिक प्लान्ट्सहरु बस्छ, त्यसलाई चाहिँ भनिन्छ हामी phytoplankton. Okay, that phytoplankton gives the maximum amount of oxygen to the atmosphere. Okay, now let us move on to the last subtopic, that is smoking. Okay, all of you know that, or you might have heard that smoking is injurious to health भनेर सुन्नु भएको. Smoking it's good हो कि bad हो? Smoking, cigarette पिउनु राम्रो हो कि नराम्रो हो? It is very very bad habit. Bad मात्रै हैन, it is very very harmful also. It can cause a number of diseases inside our body, including a very severe, very dangerous disease called lung cancer. So smoking, cigarette पियो भने एउटा डरलाग्दो बिमारी लाग्छ lung cancer, त्यसले मान्छे पनि मर्न सक्छ. So smoking is very very dangerous. So मान्छे अहिले स्टुडेन्ट्सहरु कतिजना सानो सानो नानीहरु smoking टिभी मा स्मोक गरेको देखेर हिरो हिरोइनहरुले स्मोक गरेको देखेर के गर्छ मान्छेहरु, kidsहरु, they start to smoke, but this is very 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 bad habit. You should never try to smoke. Okay, अब स्मोकमा एउटा सिगरेटमा सिगरेट कन्टेन्स हन्ड्रेड्स अफ हार्मफुल केमिकल्स एउटा मात्रै हैन हन्ड्रेड्स एन्ड हन्ड्रेड्स अफ हार्मफुल केमिकल्स इन्क्लुडिङ वान थिङ द्याट इज नोन एज टोब्याको खैनी जस्तो भित्र भरेको हुन्छ नि त है सो द्याट टोब्याको इट कजेस अ नम्बर अफ डिजिजेस इन्टु आवर बडी सास फेर्नु साह्रो पर्छ कतिवटा बिमार हुन्छ त्यसमा एउटा लङ क्यान्सर पनि हो ओके सो स्मोकिङ इज very dangerous smoking is very dangerous right a single cigarette right single cigarette contains hundreds of harmful chemicals chemicals such as tobacco which causes various diseases like lung cancer okay lung cancer जस्तो डरलाग्दो बिमारी लाग्न सक्छ त्यही कारणले गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ we should never try and smoke anything okay यसले चाहिँ थुप्रो खालके लङको डिसअर्डर्सहरु क्रिएट गर्छ अब हेर्नुस् है स्मोकर्सहरु जो चाहिँ सिगरेट पिउँछ त्यो दुई प्रकारको हुन्छ एउटा एक्टिभ स्मोकर भनिन्छ अर्को प्यासिभ स्मोकर भन्छ एक्टिभ भनेको चाहिँ जसले आफै सिगरेट पिउँछ त्यो चाहिँ एक्टिभ भयो तर प्यासिभ स्मोकर पनि हुन्छ नि प्यासिभ भनेको चाहिँ कस्तो भन्दा आफूले त सिगरेट पिउँदैन तर उसको बडीमा पनि सपोज कोही उसको साथी स्मोक गर्छ भने उसको छेउमा बस्यो भने त्यो धुवा त उसले हावामा फ्याँक्छ त्यो हावा त हाम्रो बडी भित्र पनि जान्छ नि त सो मैले इनहेल गरे भने म चाहिँ प्यासिभ स्मोकर भए ओके सो डु यु थिंक प्यासिभ स्मोकिङ इज हार्मफुल टु अस इज इट हार्मफुल यस प्यासिभ स्मोकिङ इज very हार्मफुल टु अस हामीलाई चाहिँ एक्टिभ त लु हामीले सिगरेट खाँदैन हामीलाई केही हुँदैन त हैन प्यासिभले पनि हामीले स्मोकिङ गर्यो भने हाम्रो बडी भित्र स्मोक गयो भने इट विल अल्सो क्रिएट अ नम्बर अफ डिजिजेस दैट इज व्हाई वी शुड स्टे अवे फ्रम पीपल हु स्मोक ओके त्यही कारणले इन्डियामा अहिले थाहा छ होला तपाईहरुलाई पब्लिक प्लेसेसमा स्मोकिङ गर्नु दिदैन पब्लिक प्लेसेस भनेको मान्छेहरु बेसी भएको जग्गामा सिनेमा हलमा मलमा बजारमा कहीँ पनि त्यस्तो जग्गामा होटल्सहरुमा यु आर नट अलाउड टु स्मोक व्हाई बिकज त्यसले चाहिँ तपाईलाई मात्रै हैन आफू सिगरेट खाने मान्छेलाई मात्रै हैन अरु मान्छेलाई पनि हार्म गर्छ त्यही कारणले smoking is banned in India okay so with this we've finished the chapter respiration in organisms